There's no giving up in fantasy, even if you lost CMC, even if you lost Cooper Cup. There's no giving up, there's no giving up, cause that's the things you gotta go through. Even if you lost David Njoku, this isn't a time to let go. With a broken fibula for Isaiah Pacheco. Heck no, watching that headshot to Tua made me throw up in the PCL to Puka Nakua. These injuries are sickening. A hip drop tackle to Joe Mixon, I'm living. I lost T. Higgins, you wanted to win money, but you won't see though. It hurts worse than a calf injury to Debo. This year's been a challenge, and now I just lost Keenan Allen. I need some balance, just teamed in and score enough. You lost Jordan Love, your season's on life support. Don't pull the cord and plug go out and make a trade offer. I had to Google a bleep when I lost Kenneth Walker. And you're feeling down, you lost A.J. Brown, you lost Hollywood Brown. You could turn it around, this season's been a roller coaster. I'm really hoping I can get back Raheem Mostert. Making these moves is burdensome. My tight ends are garbage without Jason Ferguson, cause there's no giving up, there's no giving up. And Evan Ingram pulled his hammy warming up, whoa. And here we are, the Friday Football Freakout. Welcome everybody to the second episode. I got my man here, Aaron Halterman of the Racing Dudes. Aaron, how are you doing tonight?
Good, man. What a way to open up the show. I love it. You are kind of speaking my language there. I've lost a lot of those guys as well, so it was nice to kind of smile about losing those guys. So yeah, it's good to be here, man. We go back a long ways, as you know, I think a lot of people know. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I mean, for those who don't know, I've been working for the Racing Dudes since 2015. I am an award-winning horse racing journalist. And I've been playing fantasy football since 1991 when I was putting pencil to pad and keeping track of my scores, looking at the newspaper. I'm in Houston tonight, and I am excited to get going with this show. And that's been the story of the fantasy football season, has been the injuries. Everyone has lost one of these guys on their team. If you haven't, then you're a miracle worker. But the one thing that I say in the song is don't give up. There's no giving up in fantasy, because you have to realize that everyone in your league is going through the same exact issues with the injuries, so it's all relative.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I'm going to need your help finding a tight end tonight. That's one question I'm going to ask you, because I just lost what seems like I'm going to lose Kittle. He's doubtful now. So and that's just one guy, but you're right. And I wanted to ask you, because you, like you said, you have followed this for even longer than I have, or even Jared has. Have you ever seen this many injuries this early into the season? It's crazy, man. I mean, this is nuts.
I can't believe it. This has been the most injuries that I've seen after 2 weeks. And I think it could be maybe related to that. Back in the day, these guys used to play in the preseason. They used to play at least one game. Maybe these guys aren't ready. You know, we've seen a lot of hamstring injuries, a lot of soft tissue injuries. And that could just be that these guys are not moving at that speed. When you're playing, 5 or 7 or 7 drills, whatever they do in the practice games and all that. This is not game speed. And when they get out there, we're seeing those injuries. So I don't know why these guys don't play at all in the preseason. They used to. Maybe that's part of it.
Yeah, you used to see them for at least 2 games. Maybe the last couple, they're not in there. Maybe they skip the first one, play games 2 and 3, skip the fourth. But you're right. And it's crazy. And I don't know. I think they are going to have to kind of re-examine this, because look, injuries happen. It's football. That's what happens in football, no matter, pro or college. But you just kind of look at this and you go, the rash of injuries, it's just crazy. And it seems like it's a couple of years now. This is the worst I've seen, but last year wasn't good either. So, but like you said eloquently in your rap, you don't give up, right? You make a trade, you go to the waiver wire, and you carry on from there.
And Shadi's saying, I'm so torn between Piron and Steele. Also, Kettle is apparently out. So help me. We're going to help you here tonight. We're going to be talking about these injuries, and we're going to start it off with the news of the day. So NFL Week
3 news of the day. Before we get to the injuries, though, I got to talk about my team, the New York Jets. Last night, a big win, 24-3 versus the Patriots. Home opener Thursday night, and they did what they needed to do after losing in week 1 at San Francisco and squeaking out a win against Tennessee. They came home and they took care of business. I thought coming into the season that the Patriots were going to stink, and they surprised me. I lost my suicide pool, knocked out after the first week with the Bengals when Patriots went into Cincinnati and won. And then Cincinnati went to Kansas City, almost won that game. New England played good, lost in overtime against Seattle. And then New England shows up on Thursday night, not really does much. The Jets blow them out. And that's one of the other themes here. You really can't see from week to week what is happening right now in the NFL.
I think the biggest thing, if you're going to play the NFL, bet the NFL, you cannot do a week-to-week situation and go, well, 1 week they looked great and 1 week they look bad. And, you can't compare scores and do this and that. Each week is kind of a different beast, a different animal. And you're right. The Patriots had played very well the first 2 weeks. It really had overachieved, but you still have to know what the roster is, what that team actually is. You can't come in every week and overachieve. And last night was a simple handicap for me of the Jets are a much better team than the Patriots. They're at, it's a short week. They're in New York. This seems like a good spot for the Jets to cover. I think they were 6-point favorites or 5.5. So, yeah. And look, for your Jets, I think we both know what the key is: a healthy Aaron Rodgers. If he's healthy, they're going to be a playoff team, dude. And if he's not, well, then who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers looked good last night, 281 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. But that was the story from yesterday. Hopefully you didn't have Ramondre Stevenson, who got 0.3 points. That's going to really hurt you if you had him. If you're playing against him, you're probably celebrating. So looking at week 3, hopefully you got off to a good start. Breece Hall had a good game. Good 18.7 points in PPR last night. So got off to a good start. But we're going to take a look at who is questionable, who's doubtful, who's out for this week. So the news of the week, big news, Jordan Love may be able to play this week. He is now questionable. And also Justin Herbert is questionable. He's more on the other side of not playing this week. So, Aaron, what do you think about 2 of the biggest quarterback names in the game being questionable coming into this week?
Well, look, even if Jordan Love doesn't play this week, I really like the fact that he's close and he's not going to miss a ton of time unless something else happens, unfortunately. But I know when that injury happened, Slim, I sat there and thought, boy, he might be out 5-6 weeks. And that's not what you want, because Jordan Love is a guy who came on last year towards the end of the season and was great. And then, gets hurt the first game. It's like, that's a big disappointment. So, look, he may play this week. He may not. I kind of am just staying away from the Packers in general this week because of that uncertainty. Hopefully, though, he's back next week for sure. And with Herbert, he's been dealing with injuries, it seems like, for 2 years now. They haven't always kept him out. Very rarely did they keep him out. But it just seems like he's been a banged-up quarterback for a while. I really think his career is going to take a nice turn with Harbaugh, though, because what they are doing now offensively is very different from what they did under the old regime. So I think Herbert's going to play. I still kind of would be shocked if Jordan Love's in there, but at least we know he's getting close.
Yeah, I'll be shocked if Jordan Love does play. This could be a Malik Willis revenge game at Tennessee. And I talked about the Tennessee Titans defense. They're looking good this year. So I don't think you could really play I don't think you could play any of the Green Bay wide receivers this week, even if Jordan Love comes back. I mean, it maybe because of your injuries, you might have to play one of them, but we'll see. With Justin Herbert, did not practice today. I'll just let you know that Jordan Love was limited all week. He has not been medically cleared with that knee injury. Herbert, high ankle sprain. That's always a very difficult one. I'm not sure if he's going to play. He did not practice today. Easton Stick would get the start. Herbert had a heavily taped ankle yesterday. He also had plantar fasciitis in the preseason. And overall, I don't know who you're starting in from the wide receiver core, Lad McConkey maybe, but I wouldn't be starting anyone there if Easton Stick. And also, you got to be worried a little bit about J.K. Dobbins. They're going to be stacking the box. at Pittsburgh. So moving along to some running backs that are doubtful. We got a bunch of running backs that are doubtful too. Ken Walker, he was out last week. He did practice in a limited fashion today, so that's another good thing, as you said, with Jordan Love. Maybe he'll play in week 4. Maybe Ken Walker comes back in week 4, but it will be the Zach Charbonnet show versus Miami. Miami gave up a lot to James Cook, a big week in week 2, so Zach Charbonnet could be a big star for you this week. Joe Mixon, the hip drop tackle to Joe Mixon. Now I'm livid. That was the rhyme I did, and it's tough that this hip drop tackle, they're trying to outlaw it. It happened, and he's going to be out this week. He's doubtful, but I don't think he's been injuring. He's been practicing. Damian Pierce is also out. So Cam Akers at Minnesota. He was just on the Vikings, so it's another revenge game here for Cam Akers. He's a good flex play because last week Jordan Mason had a big week versus Minnesota.
Yeah, you hate that for Mixon because he really was, he's looking pretty sharp there for Houston. But you kind of do know with the Texans, they are going to be very explosive offensively in the other areas. So I don't know how much that affects any other area, just Mixon in general, though. Obviously, that's a big loss. And, the Seattle situation is interesting. I really don't know what they are yet. I'm skeptical that they're that good of a team. Ken Walker's a guy that can really be boom or bust. So now that he's out, what will they do? Will it be kind of a more of a running back by committee type of thing? What will they really try to do? Who are they really offensively? I'm not really sure. They've played 2 very weak teams in Denver and then, of course, New England last week. They really weren't impressed. They won the games, and that's important. That's all that matters in the NFL, but they really weren't impressive. So, broken record, but Seattle's a team I'm staying away from regardless, if Walker's playing or not.
Yeah, hopefully Walker comes back in week 4. But the big news of the week, the surprise of the week, George Kittle, doubtful, hamstring. He popped up on the injury report yesterday, no practice yesterday and today. You said to open the show that you're looking for a tight end because you have George Kittle on your fantasy team. Aaron, what you going to do?
I don't know. You tell me. You tell me who to go pick up here, buddy. I've kind of just monitoring the waiver or not. Well, it's the free agent wire now and just trying to pick somebody up. But give me some recommendations. Slim.
Okay.
Who should I go get?
All right, let's talk about that in the start sit segment of tonight's show. We'll try to find you some tight ends, maybe some people in the chat. Drop some recommendations for Aaron in the chat if you have some tight ends, and we'll bring them up on the screen. I'll tell you this. A lot of wide receivers are out this week. Deebo Samuel, we know he's out. And who I just picked up and I ran to the waiver wire and got when I saw Kittle was doubtful. I got Jawan Jennings on my team, and I'm probably going to be starting him in my flex in my league this week because with Deebo out, Kittle out, really it's just Ayuk is like the only wide receiver I can actually name on a team besides Jawan Jennings. So I think Jawan Jennings is going to get a lot of targets here. Obviously, Jordan Mason is going to be a workhorse in this game against the Rams. And we already knew coming into the week that A.J. Brown was going to be missing a few weeks. There's really nobody as options besides, Devontae Smith on the Eagles that I would recommend. I was talking about Jahan Dotson last week. He did not show up on Monday Night Football, so you cannot start him. And also Keenan Allen will miss his second game for Chicago. Rome Odunze and obviously DJ Moore get a tick up in targets because of this.
Yeah, this is this game, San Francisco and the Rams, that's going to be happening. What a mess this is. You're not gonna know the players that are getting the ball for the most part. You mentioned Ayuk, we'll know him, but after that, who knows? Because the Rams without Puka and without Cooper Kupp as well, and then of course San Francisco with all their problems. And guess what, Slim? I had Deebo as well. So I had Deebo Samuel and I had Kittle. They're both out. I'm scrambling right now. It'll be interesting. Keenan Allen really needs to get back for Chicago. AJ Brown as well, both of them. You really need to get back for struggling offenses. But I really think, Keenan Allen getting back might help Caleb Williams, who's looked a little lost.
Oh, no doubt about it. We're going to jump to another wide receiver, and this one's going to be tricky T. Higgins is playing on Monday night. He has a hamstring. He's missed the first 2 games of the season. He's trending to play. There is a report from Kelsey Conway of the Cincinnati Enquirer that he expects to play. He has been limited yesterday and today. They obviously play on Monday. So if you have T. Higgins, put him in the flex spot on your lineup so that you have some flexibility going in, because there are 2 games on Monday Night Football this week. The Jags play at the Bills and the Commanders play at the Bengals. So you'll have some options to pick up a third down back and put them in your flex if you don't find any good wide receivers. But I'm looking forward to having T. Higgins. He is in my flex spot in one of my leagues right now, and he's playing against Washington. In week 1, they got totally destroyed by Tampa Bay. Godwin, big game. Evans, big game. And Daniel Jones in week 2 even had a good game. And Malik Neighbors had one of the highest scoring wide receiver games of the week. So I don't know if you have any T. Higgins, but I'm excited to have him back.
Yeah, I think the only downside to T. Higgins would be, the injury is a situation where it can flare up all of a sudden at you type of thing, and he's playing well and all of a sudden he's out. But yeah, as far as the matchup, it should be great. And Slim, I mean, Cincinnati has got to come out firing. They have to be extra motivated. A weak opponent, they can attack what the weakness of Washington is, like you just laid out. They're going to be ready to play. You got to expect big games for Higgins for sure. And for Burrow and really, everybody, Chase, everybody.
Jamar Chase has to get going in this one for sure.
Yep.
Another Monday Night Football situation to watch is Evan Ingram. Crazy that during warmups he got hurt. If you didn't put him in your lineup, a lot of people across the country probably got zeros in their lineup because Sunday morning they might be out with their kids, they might be at church, whatever, and they did not know that Evan Ingram got hurt warming up for the game. And he probably won't play again this Monday night. He has missed practice yesterday and today. And you got to make other tight end plans. You have to take a look at if he's going to practice tomorrow. Also with T. Higgins, make sure you take a look at their Saturday practice status.
It's a cursed franchise. I think Jacksonville, the weirdest things happen to them. And Slim, like every year, it's like, I think they're getting better. And then you watch them and it's like, oh no, they're kind of the same again. So yeah, I'm with you. I wouldn't, they're at Buffalo anyway. So I don't even know if you really wanted to play him anyway. So yeah, he's a total, just forget about it for this week.
And there is some good news on the tight end front. We talked about Kittle being out. We talked about Ingram being out, 2 of the top 8 tight ends in the draft coming, when you drafted this year. But Jake Ferguson, I said Jason Ferguson. I messed up on my rap. I don't know why you thought this. I know he's Jake Ferguson, but he will play. So we're getting somebody back that we talked about to begin the show with the rap. Jake Ferguson, the Ravens, they say you got to play him if you have him at this point, because there's not really any tight ends in the league that have been doing very well. So we'll talk about a little bit about it, but I don't know. Do you have Jake Ferguson?
I don't. I'll probably go search and see if he's available. Probably he's not. But yeah, look, and this is a game. You talk about Dallas and the Ravens. You want to talk about players that should put up numbers. This is it. This should be a very high-scoring game. I really don't know how to bet the game from who's going to win, the point spread, all that kind of stuff. But as far as fantasy implications, you would think this game between the Ravens and Dallas, you want as many players as you can from those two teams. It seems like it's going to be a shootout to me.
Okay, so we do have some recommendations before. So that's it for the news of the day. We're going to move to the start-sit segment. And to start the start-sit segment, we're going to talk about tight ends that Aaron can get because of George Kittle. I know people are probably freaking out right now. It is the Friday Football Freakout, and we have a special musical guest, so stick around. We have Jake Johnson on the drums later. He's going to be coming in later. So I got a musical guest on this show. Can you believe this? So this is going to be a lot of fun. But with the start-sit segment of the day, we're going to be talking about what tight ends can you get to replace George Kittle. Mike Gesicki, we just talked about Bengals. We're going to have a possibility, this might be a good guy to get because the Redskins, I'm sorry. Well, the Commanders, I always say Redskins. So I think Gesicki might be the guy you go with here.
Well, I think he's taken, unfortunately. I've got my app up right now. I'm going to look while we're talking.
The other strange for Jacksonville. Scott says, they say this guy's strange for Jacksonville.
Well,
Second pick is a sleeper. Yeah, I mean, obviously
he's available. He's
Jacksonville.
available.
I don't think Engram's playing at this point. And at Buffalo, not the greatest situation, but hey, it's somebody. This guy said somebody just dumped Ferguson in my league. It's an 8-man league, but still, you know.
What about Johnny Smith from the Dolphins?
They got Skylar Thompson as the quarterback.
I know.
That might not work out so well for you. Okay, so the goal for this show is to try to find a tight end for Aaron, but we're going to move along to the start sit segment. If you guys have any start sit questions, please drop them in the comments, and we'll bring them up here. Put them in the chat, and we'll bring them up on the screen. I have a start sit one, and it's going to be Ty Chandler versus Carson Steele. I think I'm leaning towards Carson Steele. Now, coming into this, when I put this on the screen, when I thought about this one being one of the start-sit questions that I have in my lineups, I thought Kareem Hunt was going to come off the practice squad. Now that Kareem Hunt is not coming off the practice squad, you know Carson Steele is going to get this shot to show himself, and this is going to be a big opportunity for him. So he's going to get some touches. Obviously, P-Ron is going to get mixed in, get all the third down. So you really hope Steele gets some rushing yards and a touchdown. Ty Chandler, I'm a little bit worried here because, okay, so Steele is at Atlanta. Atlanta, they've been pretty good against the run. That's the only thing that it worries me. They only gave up 20 carries for 70 yards in week 1 to Najee Harris. Barkley had 95 yards against him in week 2. So they've been, they've given up something in the ground. So I think Steele. On the other hand, Chandler, I know Aaron Jones is still the one, but I think Ty Chandler is eventually going to take over the main role there. I think Aaron Jones might just get hurt. So he's one to really stash. If he's on your waiver wire, please go pick up Ty Chandler. He's somebody I've been big on all year. But I'm a little worried about him this week. Houston defense looked really good. I watched that game on Sunday night against Chicago. They were swarming, 7 sacks. And in week 1, they only gave up 48 yards rushing on 16 carries to Jonathan Taylor. And DeAndre Swift, who's just a mess, that guy, had 14 carries for 18 yards. That's like barely 1 yard per carry. So what do you think about this? Steele or Chandler, Aaron?
I kind of like Carson Steele. I have heard buzz, and a lot of it is where I live. I live in Missouri, so you hear a lot of the Chiefs stuff. But I've heard a lot of buzz about this guy. I think he's going to be effective. I think the role they're going to ask him to fill, he can do it. You got all those weapons out there, and I think he's going to fit in. So I do like Carson Steele this week.
And I was smart enough in that league. I have Pacheco and lost him, and I had Carson Steele as my handcuff. It's so important to handcuff more than ever. I mean, if you had Christian McCaffrey and you didn't have Jordan Mason, you'd probably crying. You might be giving up if you didn't have that. I hope you don't give up, but if you have Jordan Mason, he's ranked like the number 3 running back overall in fantasy this week. We're going to be talking about Jordan Mason a little bit later. The other start sit one, and this one's kind of tricky. I have Hubbard, Chandler. I just picked up Jawan Jennings, and I have Courtland Sutton. I need one running back out of this mix and a flex. I'll open it up. What do you think? I'm going to let Aaron answer this one. Who do you think out of these guys?
Ooh. Boy, that's tough. I like Sutton. I do like Sutton.
Really?
Yeah. Hubbard and Sutton would be my pick. That's a tough pick. What do you think?
I'm going with Hubbard. I think I'm going with Hubbard.
I think you have to.
Yeah, I mean, he had 10 carries for 64 yards in week 2 with 4 receptions. They get Andy Dalton. I mean, Bryce Young has just been a mess. And I know you followed Bryce Young's career in college, so you can probably talk about how disappointing he's been as the number 1 pick. And to get benched in your second season after being the number 1 pick, it's kind of an embarrassment, right, Aaron?
Yeah, it's bad. And to me, it can't get any worse with Dalton. Young looks like a guy that's just totally lost his confidence. And if you're playing NFL, especially quarterback, and you have no confidence, you got to make a move. And I don't think it's over for him, but it's bad. And look, I think Hubbard is that one guy on the team that you kind of know, look, he's going to get some points for you, and they have to go to him, and they don't have another option. And I think Andy Dalton makes that even worse because you know what he is, right? And they're not going to ask him to throw it 100 times. We know that. So Hubbard's going to be featured.
Yeah, I picked up Hubbard really late in my draft, knowing that the rookie would be out for a while. And week one at the Raiders here, week one, the Raiders gave up 135 yards rushing to Dobbins. And in week two, 84 yards rushing to Derrick Henry. So I think Hubbard should have some success. So I'm going with Hubbard. We already talked about Chandler. And now this whole Sutton versus Jawan Jennings thing. I think I'm just worried about Sutton. I'm going to talk a little bit about Bo Nix and at Tampa Bay in this situation. Sutton only has 5 catches for 64 yards combined in the first 2 games. Bo Nix has not looked very good. So I think I'm leaning Jawan Jennings, but we'll see where to go. I don't know if anybody in the comments has a sit question. This guy's saying Hubbard, Robin, and Jennings. Okay, that's where I'm at right now. So thank you, Robin. Let's see. Bryce Young. Oh, my. Yeah, he doesn't look good, Bryce Young. So that's one of the early season questions.
The Bryce Young thing, just to come back to it real quick. And Curtis Manilow is a huge college football fan, just like I am. And I think the one thing when you watch Bryce Young in college, I mean, he was in command and he was in charge. Now it's easy to do that at Alabama, but he was really the offense at Alabama when he was there. They were kind of a wide open team and he would throw it all around. And by no means did I really think Bryce Young would be a superstar, but to see what he is right now, it's really pretty shocking to me. So best of luck to him.
I mean, Andy Dalton, could get benched for Andy Dalton after 2 weeks is a pretty rough situation.
Bad.
But we're going to move to the next segment of the night here, and it is my picks. I got to make picks. I'm with the racing dudes. I never make picks. I try to make picks for you guys back in the day, but I'm going to start making some picks here of who I like this week. So this is a daily fantasy lineup. I've done this the first couple of weeks. Last week, I gave out Pacheco and Kupp, and they both left the game in walking boots. So I'll try to do better this week and not be a mush and jinx one of these guys or jinx 2 of these guys. So please bear with me as we try to figure out what's going on with this season. But this is a daily fantasy lineup that I'm going to put into a tournament play on DraftKings. I'm starting off with Derek Carr versus Philadelphia. Philadelphia against the pass has not been that great. They gave up 260 yards passing and 2 touchdowns in week 1 to Jordan Love, 241 yards passing and 2 touchdowns to Kirk Cousins on Monday Night Football. Cousins got it together against Philadelphia in Philadelphia. This game is in New Orleans, and Derek Carr might be one of the early favorites for the MVP. I sent out a joke to my friends over a group me chat. I said, who had New Orleans winning the Super Bowl, because they've scored 91 points. They're leading the league in scoring with 91 points after 2 weeks. With Derek Carr, I'll talk about my wide receiver 3 here, Rashid Shaheed. Philadelphia is ranked 30th against wide receivers in fantasy points this year, and Shaheed has had some big plays. We saw Darnell Mooney on Monday Night Football have a big play against Philadelphia. They've been susceptible to the big play. So what do you think about this Philly New Orleans game, Aaron?
I like it. I will say the one thing that I'm confident on is this is not going to continue week after week with New Orleans. I think they will calm down, but I think you make a very good point. This really isn't the week where you would think they would calm down and not play quite as well, because they have such a great matchup for what they like to do offensively. So look, I like the play there with Derek Carr. And like I said, I don't think he's going to be the MVP when all things are said and done, but this is a great matchup. We just saw Kirk Cousins pretty much, have a very strong game against this Philadelphia team. Green Bay moved it up and down the field on him week 1. So I think the Saints will have success offensively.
Yeah, Shaheed is a monster. It looks like a breakout. Scott has said in the chat. Is Derek Carr going to be the MVP, Curtis? Yeah, we'll see. I mean, right now, I would say if we stop the season after 2 weeks, he has a good shot at it. I like Shadi here. Please don't kneecap my other starters. We'll see if any of these guys get injured this week. we'll go to the running backs. If Jordan Mason gets hurt, we're going to be in a lot of trouble in the So Jordan Mason, this is like playing a free bingo square with him only being $6,200 in DraftKings. It's very possible that he has the most points of any running back in week 3 at the LA Rams, and the Rams have just given up 131 yards and 2 touchdowns in week 1 to Gibbs and Montgomery when they played the Lions. They gave up 122 yards on 21 carries to James Conner and a touchdown in week 2. So the Rams have not been able to stop the run. Jordan Mason has been on fire. Obviously, they don't have the weapons. It's going to be Ayuk and him. That's why I think Jawan Jennings could be a good play. If you need somebody, go to the waiver wires and get Jawan Jennings. So that's just like a free bingo square. I would imagine like 80, 90, 95% of DraftKings lineups will have Jordan Mason. On the other hand, I'm hoping not a lot of people jump on this Tony Pollard bandwagon. Going into the season, I thought like, hey, Tajay Spears is going to probably split carries with him. No, that has not been the case. Spears is banged up coming into this game, and Pollard has gotten at least 19 touches in the first 2 weeks. And this Green Bay Packers run defense has not been good. Saquon Barkley obviously had 3 touchdowns in week 1 with 132 yards from scrimmage. Last week, Jonathan Taylor had 135 yards from scrimmage, and he didn't even play the 4th quarter. So what do you think about my running back plays, Aaron?
Yeah, Tony Pollard's a guy that I think will have success this week. And you said it. I mean, Jordan Mason, especially with all the wide receivers and tight ends out in this game, he makes a ton of sense. And you said it, though, man. If he gets hurt, then you're really in some trouble. But, yeah, no, he definitely, it seems like – and, look, we know San Francisco, they're most effective when they run the football. You know they're going to try to establish it, and I think it makes sense. Tony Pollard, I think he's very underrated. The only worry is the Tennessee offense isn't great, but he is a very good piece of that offense.
No doubt about it. I'm trying to look for a comment before about somebody said, yes, here it is. I spent all my fab in one league to get Jordan Mason. I spent $56 out of my $100 to get Jordan Mason in one league, and I'm very happy about that move. So if you got him, cheers to you. Congratulations, because it looks like he's going to be a stud for the next at least 3 or 4 more weeks. But before I hop into the next game here, we're going to bring in our musical guest. Rob N says, the Lions are winning that game. We're going to be talking about the Lions at the Arizona Cardinals. And we have a big Lions fan that is our musical guest. I want to introduce everyone to Jake Johnson. Jake, introduce yourself to the crew here.
Yeah. First of all, can you hear me okay? Let's get that out of the way.
Yep,
All right. All right. Excellent. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. My name's Jake Johnson. Been drumming a long time. Currently endorsed by Roland. So trying to do a lot of things in the electronic drum space. I learned a lot about sports watching you guys. I got a lot to learn, man. You guys know your stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I just brought you in because I'm going to be talking about the Lions and this Jameson Williams. I'm starting him against, at Arizona. This game is the highest over and under of the week at 51.5. So a lot of scoring is expected here. And when I see a game like this that looks like it has possible shootout implications, I'm trying to get a piece of maybe both sides, and I'm going to get a piece of both sides here. Marvin Harrison Jr. finally, it was only week 1. He was an embarrassment. I said, Marvin Harrison's an embarrassment. I thought he'd be like his dad, but after week 1, there's no comparison. But now he looked like his dad in week 2. 4 catches for 130 yards and a touchdown. He broke out. Kyler Murray, I know that's your guy, Aaron. I'll let you talk a little bit about Kyler Murray. He looks like he's back. He's had some injuries the last couple of seasons. And, looks like he's back. And if he starts hooking up with this guy, it's going to be something. And I just see a lot of scoring potential in this game. And with Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown has a quad, maybe slows him down. He's going to be playing, but I think Jameson Williams is also having a breakout potential here this year.
I will say, I think the key to this game will be if they can protect Kyler Murray. You know, the defensive front of the Lions, it's very good. They get after the quarterback. You got to get the ball out quick. And I think the key for Marvin Harrison is, will they be able to protect Murray enough to get the ball to him? So, yeah, look, this is going to be a great game. I think the Cardinals are a lot better than people think. But I think I respect the Lions a lot as well. I think these are two very good teams. So yeah, should be high scoring, and Harrison should be fine if the Cardinals can protect.
Wow. All right. I like that analysis. You're so good, Aaron. Anyway, so moving along, I got another rookie. We talked about Marvin Harrison, maybe rookie of the year. Maybe this guy's the rookie of the year. Brock Bowers. He is leading all tight ends in receiving yards this year with how many yards do you have? I wrote it down here. 156 yards receiving over 2 games. So that's not just receiving yards for tight end rookies. That's for all the tight ends in football. So he's been really amazing for Las Vegas and Carolina. We talked about how Bryce Young has been horrible, but Carolina's defense also horrible. They're probably the worst team in football. They're ranked number 30th against tight ends for fantasy points. They gave up 2 touchdowns in week 1 to New Orleans. Foster Moreau and Jawan Johnson had touchdowns. So if Foster Moreau and Jawan Johnson could get a touchdown each against Carolina in week 1, Brock Bowers, he should be doing a lot of damage to the Carolina secondary and the linebackers.
Yeah, I mean, Carolina is just a disaster. And the other thing you got to think of is, I mean, the Raiders should have the ball for most of the game, right? I mean, unless they can kind of dink and dunk it down the field, talking about the Panthers and control it, but time of possession should be on the Raiders side. And yeah, I think that's anybody starting against Carolina, you got to feel good about it right now.
Definitely. Moving along to the last 2 parts, and we're going to get to Jake Johnson. He's going to be rocking out in a little bit here, so stick around for the musical guest. Jake Johnson on the drums. He's going to rock out. But DeMarcus Robinson, I'm hoping he rocks out. As we said, this game, the Rams against San Francisco, is like literally you got Ayuk is the only guy that anyone even drafted as a wide receiver on either one of these 2 teams, because Debo is out, Kittle is out on one side of the ball. We got Kupp and Puka Nacua out on the other side of the ball. And, DeMarcus Robinson, why I like him now, he is now the number 1 wide receiver for the Rams. San Francisco, they have given up 2 touchdowns in week 1 to Lazard. Last week, Justin Jefferson had a 97-yard touchdown. They also gave a touchdown up to Naylor from Minnesota. So they're giving up touchdowns to wide receivers. Hopefully DeMarcus Robinson gets a touchdown, and he's going to get a lot of – oh, yes, Rams versus 49ers is like a game from the replacements. Very good one, yeah. I mean, I'm hoping he just gets a lot of targets and he does something with them. At $5,000, I thought he was a good quality, value play here. And last but not least, the Tampa Bay defense. I picked them because, hey, man, Bo Nix has been horrible. He's thrown 4 interceptions. Tampa Bay had 2 interceptions last week against Goff. Bo Nix is going on the road into Tampa Bay. That's never easy. They have a pretty wild crowd there down in Tampa Bay. So I think he's going to be really rattled as a rookie going into that atmosphere. I don't know. You know a lot about college football. What do you think about Bo Nix so far, Aaron?
Oh yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of him coming out. I think as a college quarterback, he did fine. He did a good job, but I don't think he's overly talented. So I do like it. And look, I obviously know a lot about Baker Mayfield, being a huge Oklahoma fan. And so he's had his struggles in the NFL, but boy, since he's gotten to Tampa, he's been very good. A team is pretty tough. So I'm with you. I like that. And DeMarcus Robinson, I mean, it's unbelievable that this is where we're at with the Rams, that this is the go-to guy, Slim, but he is. Somebody has to catch the ball. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a good play. He didn't cost you very much, so I get it. But yeah, I'm excited for this Tampa game. I really need Tampa to go to 3-0 here, kind of keep that going, keep their win streak going. So we'll see what happens.
Curtis got all the punchlines. Bo Nix improved a lot over his 6 years in college. Well, hopefully he improves in his 3rd game as an NFL quarterback. So, all right, now we have the show. We got some people online that are saying, Heck yeah, free concert. We got Jake Johnson. Yo, Jake Johnson, Evan. Dude is such a good drummer. I don't know how he does it. This guy's about to rock out. And you could follow Jake Johnson. You can follow me at Dad Rap Music on Instagram. And you could follow my man, Jake Johnson. The musical guest there is his handle at Jake Johnson, JCJ. So before you go, okay, you're going to rock out, but we do have a couple of questions for you. You talked a little bit about music. You said Detroit Lions are your team.
Oh, yeah.
Where are you from and where are you living right now?
Yeah, so I'm in Monroe, Michigan. I'm not too far from Detroit. Been a Lions fan for years. Thick and thin. You know, we've had some bad seasons, man, but last year was our time to shine. We were really close. I really can't stand the Chiefs, respectfully. And I hope we make another run at it this year.
Nice. All right. So tell us, you say you have a deal with Roland Drums. Tell us a little bit about your music, how you got involved with music, and where you're at with it so far.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for that question. So I started at a real young age, right around 7 years old. So I've been playing for quite some time, close to around 20 years, give or take. And I got started actually with my dad teaching me how to play drums. I came home and I had a talent show as a 7-year-old. And I was like, all right, I'm in a band. And I'm about to play drums. And my dad's like, you don't play drums. So quickly, I really had to learn. And the funny thing about him with that is he only took what I could play. So for example, if I could only play the snare drum, I would be the only thing that I would be taking. But I learned the entire drum set as a 7-year-old. And my first song I ever played was Rockin' Robin. And I rocked it out, no pun intended, Rockin' Robin. So,
right, man. We're going to let you do your thing. We're going to finish the show. So for the Friday Night Freak Out.
Yeah.
I'm Saratoga Slim at Dad Rap Music, at Saratoga Slim on X. We got the Racing Dudes at Racing_Dudes on Twitter. And we got X, and we got my man Jake Johnson. So
yes, sir.
Rock it out. Let's finish up the show, man.
Yeah, I gotta give a shout out to Roland real quick on the shirt here, and then I'm playing the VAD 706. Let's get it.
Wow. Unbelievable, man.
Nice.
Thank you, man.
All right.
Nice.
Now we're going to do a special. Play that beat that you were playing before the show during the sound check. And Dad Rap's going to do his thing. All right, let's do it. Let's get busy to end the show. We're going in. Put one finger up if the kids are nuts. Put that same finger up if you don't give up. I'm spending bucks, but can't save a dime. My wife and kids in my pocket, they taking mine. But it's fine, it's the inflation that got me chasing. My dreams right now is to take a vacation from the monotony. Got me wanting a lobotomy over the cuckoo. I got over the cuckoo. I got a few loose screws. I clean my dog's poop. boo. It smells like doo-doo. Take off my son diaper. It's loose like doo-doo. This my everyday, this my midlife crisis. To prove to y'all, I'm the nicest. I turn ice spices to vanilla ices. I don't care if you like this. I had to write this. I got a license to ill. Y'all ain't killing me. Nah, my son and daughter will be ill like me. Peace out. I'll see you all next week on the Friday Football Freak Out. Peace. I'm out.
Blessings. Thank you.
But we're still here.